Hey guys, it's Mark from Erickson Machine Performance. How you guys doing today? So this is a Van Norman 570 rotary broach, basically the big brother to the Van Norman 530 rotary broach. They also have the 2-speed version. This is a single speed. So I make a set of cutters. I sell them on eBay. Been making them for a few years now. The main reason I started making them is this is a phenomenal machine with a 14-inch cutting head, but the stock brazed cutters suck for aluminum. So I ended up making a few different sets to try, and I ended up coming with a round button style, which is that right there. This is with the aluminum inserts. I also sell them with a pack of inserts for cast iron, depending on what you want to do. The main benefit to these cutters is if they chip, break, or dull, you can rotate them 5 times around on each insert to a sharp edge. Each time you rotate them, after you index them properly the first time, you don't have to do it again unless you like crash a part or something like that. And indexing these cutters can be a real pain in the rear. So I'm going to show you how I do it, indexing them, because I've had a bunch of customers ask me how I do it. There's a few different ways. Van Norman actually used to make a micrometer, which this is one I made years ago. Where it's just a 1/10 micrometer that mounts in the back hole and pushes down on the insert. So what I normally do is I'll use this to set them to get them close, and then I'll go with a 1/10 indicator and get each cutter within about a 1/10. The closer you can get the cutter to 0, the better performance you're going to end up getting with these. So keep that in mind. I have guys that use a 1/1000 indicator and they're like, oh, it's good enough. It's really not on a cutting head this big. These round inserts will help you out in that because there's not a sharp point, but keep in mind, the closer to perfect, the better the performance you're going to get. So what I do, here, let me see. I think I have an extra set up. Alrighty. Just so I don't have to break down my setup. So I recommend using a 1/10 indicator, and then on top of that, I recommend using a flat contact point. So let me show you. Let me screw another flat contact point on a different indicator for you so you can see what I'm talking about. So a 1/10 indicator with a flat contact point. The main reason I say the flat contact point is these aren't perfectly centered. So they can be off a few tenths. Same thing with the standard cutters. If you use a rounded point, all of them won't necessarily be set at the same height because if it's a hump like this, like the top of your finger, and you're measuring here but it's touching, but now it's down a little low, or here, so using a flat contact is the best way to do it, I have found, to end up getting the best cuts. So what I know some guys do is they'll take an aluminum bar, they'll drill a hole in it, set it, they'll bolt the bar down, and then they'll push each cutter in. So the nice thing with these cutters is there's a spring at the bottom. It's just a flat piece of metal, so don't push them down too far. So you just push it down a little bit, and then I lock it. And then if you use an aluminum bar or a micrometer, you go to it, you loosen it, you let it come up and touch it, then you tighten it, and always go backwards, not forward, so you're not cutting into it. That way you get them all fairly close, and then you'll go back with a 10th micrometer and check it out. So I did this the first round just with a micrometer, and I'm within 4/10 on everything, which is pretty good but not perfect. So I'm just going to show you how I do it and see if that works for you, and I'll show you the one that I just took out to show you. So I unplugged the machine or killed the breaker because you're going to want to rotate the pulley by hand. So you're going to want to rotate the pulley so you're going backwards. So the other reason for that is by going backwards, the edge of the cutter is not going to hit the contact point and try to rip it off. So now we're going to go first to the one that I just messed with, because I took it out, because now we got to bring that back up. So what I'll do is I'll take the Torx wrench for the insert and just set it in the insert. Now this gives me something that I can move that cutter up and down with, and then I'll let it come up until we start to make contact. Not too far.
So now we're going to go the other way. I'm going to check where we're at. So we are 2,000 high. So now we'll go to where the 2,000 spot is. We'll set this back in. We'll loosen it just a smidge. As you can see, this is the tricky part of this. There we go. So now we're at 5/10. So now we're getting somewhere. So where that is. Still 5/10. This is the main reason
I end up using the aluminum bar in the first place to get it closer than this, but in the end, they've all got to be done this way. Perfect. We'll crank it down and check it. Yep. So now what I do, so this one's now at 0. So we're going to go back over, double check. Yep, 0. I'll put that one at 0. We'll go to the next cutter. This cutter's at 2. That one is now at 0. Just tighten her down, make sure it doesn't move. 0. This one's at 1, so we're going to call that close enough. This one's at 1, so we're going to call that close enough. 0, 0, 4. Alright, so this one we gotta drop down a little bit. So now, as I was saying, the one main benefit to these cutters is you really only have to do this one time. And if you want to cut aluminum heads, the thing works like a charm. I've made a couple hundred sets of these at this point, and everybody has really, really liked them. I've sold them to some other distributors too, who are reselling them. The only customer that I know that wasn't thrilled with them was doing, I think Model T. No, flathead motors with hardened seats. So when they're cutting the deck, it's cutting the cast iron in the hardened seat, and there's a little too much cutter contact for that. So if that is the type of work that you do, that's about the only thing I wouldn't recommend these for. Just because I know somebody that's, wasn't the happiest with them. But if you're just cutting like standard aluminum cylinder heads, standard cast iron heads, you're not going to get a better finish with a Van Norman machine than you will with these cutters. It's just amazing. You can run multi-layer steel head gaskets, no issue. And that's really the main reason I started making them. I really like this machine because it's a beefy old machine built on a huge cast iron base with a gearbox and all that. The biggest thing was the cutters were obsolete. So I started off making a different cutter, and I wasn't really thrilled with the cuts I was getting with it, and then I switched to the round inserts, and since then it's just been amazing. So, and the inserts last a really, really long time. I've been surprised on how long it lasts. So the other thing, if you start doing this, I've done a bunch of these machines at this point, so I've got a little bit of a knack for it. I haven't done one in a while, but so this can take anywhere from an hour to, I know some people say 3 hours. If you get fed up with it, just walk away and take a break for a little bit. Don't compromise on not setting them at the right height because you're fed up with it, because you do it once and then you never have to do it again.
Let's just get off that too. That might be it. Nope. Yeah, we went too far.
There we go. 1, which is good enough. 0. 1, which is good enough. Alrighty. So that's basically all there is to setting them up. So this is just a 5/8 thick by 2-inch bar that I milled a slot in it. The way I do it, I find it easier to move it all the way over here, so that way it's easier to get the Allen wrench in the cutter and to tighten and loosen it. That's the only reason I do it this way. The stock setup comes this way. The big thing is, if you're going to use one of the Van Norman micrometers, or you want to make one of yours like this, feel free to contact me. You can normally pick up these micrometers cheap off eBay for, I think I picked this one up for like $60, and then I machined the mount for it. The only thing is, with the cast iron inserts, you're fine. With the aluminum ones, you can snug them, but you can't tighten them because the cutters move a little bit, and the edge is so sharp on the aluminum insert that you will chip it. The cast iron inserts you can normally get away with, but as a rule of thumb, I only snug them with that, and then I go through with an indicator and do that at that time. Alright, let's set up and take a cut. So, the way I set them up, I use two 15,000 shims. I will set them on the deck. I'll take the head and place it. Obviously making sure the cutter head is below. Open the arms up.
So I try to grab on faces that aren't going to mar anything. These feet. There we go. These feet can press into it. So you want to pay attention, not to do it on a gasket surface that you're going to damage. So on this head, we'll come up. Right about there, looks good. Where is my big wrench? There we go. All right. Once we make contact there, which is over there, so we're going to have to go up higher. Switch the feet around on this. There we go. Now we're getting somewhere. Perfect. Let's wave the back one in. Do the same thing. this up a little bit. Looks like we're on the money there. The nice thing with this machine is how quickly you can set up a head, level it, make the cut. While it's cutting, you can kind of walk away and not have to worry about it. Tight. So all I do is I walk it down, get the shims out.
I'll bring it right to where the cutter's going to start touching the head, then fire the machine up. And then I'll just walk it up until we're making contact. Go. Nice. So I'll take 5 in the first pass. go. Bust out the good old mirror. Alright, time to take probably one more cut. The one thing that does work well is the aluminum lube from Lacey Williams. So I just put a couple sprays on the bottom. Alright, let's unbolt her and check her out. So here we go. This is the surface finish after. So this is right off the machine. Ready to rock and roll. So, hope you guys liked the video. Please subscribe to the channel. Comment. If you have any questions, feel free to hit me up or check out the cutters on my eBay account. Thanks, guys. You have a good day.